in the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
On the Paracast with Gene and Chris. In a couple of minutes, we'll be talking to Dr. John Alexander. But first, I wanted to ask Chris a couple of things mentioned briefly on the After the Paracast episode last week. And if you want to hear that, by the way, you have to subscribe to the Paracast Plus. Go to plus.theparacast.com for more information. But what I wanted to just mention briefly here, Chris, is you went off on the one, the only Leslie Kean in that segment. And the question I have, with everything else, does it even matter? I mean, isn't she getting decent publicity for UFOs?
Well, in terms of Leslie Kean, what can you say? She was Bud Hopkins' girlfriend. She has some knowledge about the subject. I don't find her to be an authority by any stretch of the imagination. And because she is being singled out as a focused person within this particular latest saga, this story, the media is acting like she's an expert, and that she is one of the people that really knows a great deal about the subject and about the field and the history and the players and all the things that go into that. And I beg to differ. I don't feel she has that expertise. She's a good writer. She's a good journalist, but I don't think she could hold her own in a conversation with a Jerry Clark, with a Stanton Friedman, with myself, with other individuals in the field who have spent years reading all the books, getting up to speed on all the various theories, all the cases. I just don't think she's done her due diligence, and I don't think she should be treated with the same amount of gravitas and respect that a Stan Friedman or a Kevin Randall or a Jerry Clark should be awarded. That's my own personal feeling.
John, have you ever met Leslie Kean?
Oh, yes.
What's your perception about her?
Well, I'm not sure quite what's generating this topic. Obviously a good researcher. I did do a blurb for her recent book on surviving death. I wasn't impressed there with firsthand experiences. This had nothing to do with UFOs, obviously. And I'm not sure what has generated this comment or what.
Well, I had mentioned last week that
conversation that.
I had mentioned, John, last week that I just didn't feel that. I felt that there were a much better spokespeople to represent the field than Leslie Kean. That's just my own personal opinion. I think Stan, Jerry Clark, Kevin Randall. There's a whole slew of individuals. Jacques Vallée.
Represent the field. I'm not sure what's driving that.
Well, there's nothing driving it. It's just, I was asked about her and about her work, and like I said, I think she's a good journalist. But when it comes to,
I think you're missing a key piece to this puzzle. Then.
Okay, what am I missing?
And that is how that all came about. This goes back to Chris Mellon, who was on. She had a board looking into these areas, and he was one of the advisors and happens to be one of the key people who knows not only her, but the various news outlets as well. And he's the one who brought her in and brought the New York Times and put all of these pieces together. So she didn't just jump up and.
Well, no, I didn't say that she did. I'm glad that that's clarified, though, that he was on the board of what, UFO Data?
I forget the name of the organization. She had one, but he had a personal relationship with her. And I mean that strictly in the professional sense now.
Yeah, right. Yes, I understand.
But was the one who, again, he knew from his positions in the Pentagon and on Capitol Hill, knew the various media outlets as well. And I know that he was involved with a couple other friends of mine in bringing her the videos and getting very early access there. So that's how that all evolved.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good. I didn't know exactly how that shook out initially, but it's good to know. Again, I really think that it's a positive step forward, I think, for the field. to get the kind of a measured response from the media, but at least one that's not whistling Star Trek or the Twilight Zone theme songs, or talking about tinfoil hats and little green men. That's been the bane of the UFO field's existence in the media for many decades. So just looking at that, I think it's a good step forward. But I really have a sense that that this whole thing is not as it appears. That there are some problems with the actual footage, with the story that's attached to it. I think that there's, as I put it, I think in a post, that it's a little downwind of the Danish fish market as far as I'm concerned. But, I'd love to be proven wrong. I really feel that, again, like I said, that this is a positive step forward. And I think it may have been an exercise to see how the media was going to respond to some good quality.
Absolutely not. That is absolutely not the way it's derived. This was a small internal organization. The guy running it got finally exasperated, stepped out. It's pretty much the way you see it. The biggest problem I think they have is, that you have Tom DeLonge stating certain things, like in the Rogan interview, and some other pretty straightforward people trying to, do serious research. But if you think this is highly coordinated inside the Pentagon...
Oh, no, I don't think that.
What I understand is Mattis didn't even know about it until like hours before the New York Times article came out.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't think the Pentagon would have anything to do with this. It's way below their radar. I was just saying that the way the thing has been has unfolded, it's looked like a way to see how the media is going to respond to the subject.
Well, I'm not sure who they are now. We have people who are engaged with the media, developing the story. From what I understand, New York Times did not jump up and down and say, "Oh, this is a really good thing." That they did considerable due diligence before they even agreed to print the story. Now, what we know, you've probably been on television programs, but if you go into any TV station and the newscast and all that, there's a line of programs up there, and everybody's watching everybody else. And as soon as one tips, the Me Too's get on there very, very quickly. Rush to be second is tremendous.
So therefore, if they see something in the New York Times, the talking heads are jumping for joy. The producers are trying to find out more information about it.
The Times and Politico both had the story. There was concern in that as to who was going to go first, and the agreement was that they would publish simultaneously. I understand there's a 3-minute differential between the time that New York Times pushed the button and Politico followed.
Yeah,
but they were both involved. They had to be really convinced to even touch the story. This is not something that the senior leadership at either publication was, running after and say, "Oh, we got to have this story." It was, you got to convince us that it's going to stand scrutiny.
Yeah. Well, what do you think tipped it over so that this particular installment of the saga was picked up and run with by the Times? What pushed it over the top for him, do you think?
Before you answer, John, I want to just do our break. Colonel John B. Alexander, we're talking about the Pentagon UFO study and the ramifications and other issues with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails T-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of T-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great T-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Are you happy washing your hands with harsh chemicals? Are you happy doing laundry with detergents? Are you happy paying high prices? Find your happiness with Pure Soap. These all-natural, earth-friendly Pure Soaps are the very best you've ever used. Buy in bulk. Get a 12, 36, or 48-month supply, or get items individually and still save big. You're getting soap products twice as good as what you're using now, earth-friendly and natural soaps. Your family deserves the best. Happiness is 5starsoap.com. Why not put your money up the drain for a change? See them at 5starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog. Cal Ben Soap Company can save you thousands of dollars and give you good old-fashioned real soaps that are triple concentrated. Soaps made from vegetable and coconut oils. See their full selection of soaps at 5starsoap.com. That's F-I-V-E starsoap.com or call 1-800-340-7091 for a catalog.
Bad theater seats, cheap Halloween masks, my apartment, all things with obstructed views. Add to these large trucks and buses. 18-wheelers and large buses have big blind spots, and like my apartment, they don't always have the best view. Bus and truck drivers deal with blind spots around the entire vehicle. Always take care not to ride alongside or too close behind them. Our roads, our responsibility. Learn more at sharetheroadsafely.gov.
For over 5 years, you've been hearing about the Berkey Guy, so you may know a few things about him. For example, you are well aware of the superior quality and effectiveness of Berkey water filters and accessories. But did you know the Berkeys have had independent lab tests done to prove just how effective they are? It's true, and he can email you the test results. Just visit goberkey.com. You may also know that the Berkey Guy has helped tens of thousands of people get better prepared. Now here's something you may not know. GoBerkey.com has amazing specials and deals all the time on a wide variety of survival and preparedness products. Most ready to ship same day. Visit the Berkey Guy at GoBerkey.com and be sure to click the red Products on Sale Now button. You can always call toll-free 877-886-3653. Again, that's 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com, home of the Berkey Guy.
Cancer categorizes over 100 diseases. Though we do not diagnose, treat, or cure cancer, GCN team is offering the Clemson University study where there was up to a 95% reduction in cancerous cells when exposed to a plant-derived mineral supplement. If you or a loved one are searching for answers to this horrifying disease, come to GCNteam.com or call 877-878-4203. We'll email you a copy for free. That's 877-878-4203.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
Okay, John B. Alexander, would you respond to Chris's question here? What tipped or caused the decision to cover this story?
Well, I think it's much the other way around. It was being pushed from the To the Stars side very hard. And again, that they had enough evidence. Again, you had mentioned Leslie, she was only one. I know they had to show the videos, and there are more than what have been released, and allow the Times and Politico and the others who got involved to do significant background research who, again, they did not want to get in front of their headlights and have this come back to bite them in the ass. But this was not like the Mueller, everything that Mueller does in that investigation, everybody wants that story. This is one that was, prove it to us that it's valid and can be supported, and we're not going to get hurt. I mean, there is, unlike some of the other things, there's a huge amount of risk aversion in the media with dealing with these kind of stories.
This is a thing to point out here, too. As much as the mainstream media is maligned, a publication like the New York Times, Politico, the Washington Post, they have fact checkers and editors and everyone else, and they're pretty careful with a story, especially if it's going to be provocative in any way. It's not just quick coverage of a disaster or something or a crime.
Right. And they were. They held this for a while. I don't know when they first got the information. I know Leslie was given access to the information a couple of months earlier. So they were sitting on it, and I think, from what I understand, the editors were very insistent that they crossed the T's and dotted the I's before they went with the story.
When did you first become acquainted with what was going on here with regard to the study that got into the hands of Robert Bigelow?
Oh, frankly, when the story broke in the New York Times. I was not aware of it. It was ongoing internally here at all.
Of course, you worked with NIDS, but at what point did that close down?
Oh, I would have to look back and see. 95. I'm not sure.
20,000, 2002 or something?
That'd be about right. I'm there 95, 6 years. Yeah, around 2002. And it kind of went in pieces. It was not an instantaneous drop. There were several. My status and Eric Davis changed a bit before he was going to go into kind of a semi-reporting status where you could get assigned by specific projects, and then terminated the entire operation shortly thereafter.
Yeah. Well, I remember Bruce Cornett was brought in as the last manager, if I remember correctly.
No, Cullum was I think, not always. I was there before Cullum Kelleher, but he was the deputy administrator all along. Yeah. Yeah, because I remember I was... I did a whole round of calls to everybody, yourself, John Schuessler, whoever I could get on the phone, basically, when Jack Sarfati floated that crazy rumor 15 years ago that got somehow laid at my desk and on my lap, and did quite a bit of backpedaling to disassociate myself from the rumor and also find out if there was anything to it. Well, another thing that's been coming up, John, is, you're good friends with Robert Bigelow, I would assume, because you've known him for quite some time, and you both are kind of locals there in Las Vegas. It seems like he's travel in the same circles. Halfway.
Well, but you know him pretty well. I would say, I would venture a guess that I would say you're pretty good friends with him because of your like interests, I'm sure. And the fact that you were signed on to help out with the NIDS program. How is it that he seems to be popping up now in the middle of anything that has to do with this story? He seems to be right smack dead in the middle of this.
Yeah, as I understand it, and contrary to popular belief, this was not a no bid or sole source contract. I understand it was bid, and that Bob won was a natural. He had the facilities. He is involved actively in space exploration. Had run NIDS, had the people who had interest in the area, the infrastructure necessary to do the requirements. One of the big things to remember, and most know this, but this $22 million that has been batted about is scattered over 5 years, and in Pentagon terms, you're not even talking lunch money.
Well, it's like, for example, if I gave a penny, compared to somebody who had $100 in the bank. That would be too much. But the question I have here is, you mentioned that it was a bid contract. Who bid? Who offered their services in addition to Bigelow?
No, that's not the way it works. I don't know. Just have heard from others that the contract was put out. It was probably they put out what you call an RFP, or request for proposal, probably done in very small circles. I mean, if I had to guess, you'd find folks like Lockheed or others in the aerospace, probably some small research R&D companies who might have bid it. Others not like, I want to say I have no knowledge that Lockheed was one. I just mentioned them as people who have done advanced research and individuals, and that's really one of the key people who went with To the Stars came out of the Skunk Works. I also know from much earlier experience, as I've mentioned, that Ben Rich, who was the second director of the Skunk Works, was a personal acquaintance, and we had met several times and discussed this in some detail. Now, he, of course, had since transitioned, but, he certainly had the right kinds of people there. So who went up, don't know, but it was, I am told that it was not a sole source bid. A lot of stuff has been, or inference has been made about a personal relationship between Harry Reid and Bob Bigelow, and they certainly do know each other. And George Knapp also deserves some credit in there, in that he has been working, I would say, cultivating Senator Reid for many, many years before this, i.e. telling him stories about UFOs and the research he was doing, and Skinwalker Ranch in particular apparently played a significant role.
We got more to come, talking to Colonel John B. Alexander about the Pentagon UFO study and the implications with Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health-sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
Warning, if you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-959-5759. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-959-5759. That's 1-800-959-5759. 1-800-959-5759.
People are waking up. They're standing up to those pushing pesticides and GMOs as safe alternatives for a starving world. What a bunch of crap! I tell you, I'd rather eat dirt. So, I drink Life Change Tea. It's an herbal drink, cleansing my body of toxic sludge and nasty chemicals, and of course, ridding the intruders that are hidden in my so-called food. And by the way, Life Change Tea is non-GMO and organic. No fillers, no yuck. Just a great defense against you-know-what. May the supplement force awaken you. Don't fall to the dark side. Sorry, I went to the movies last night. Anyway, enough said. How do you get that herbal drink and change your life? GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. You will awaken, you will get stronger, and you might even lose a bit of weight. So awaken to Life Change Tea and the many one-of-a-kind supplements at GetTheTea.com. That's GetTheTea.com. May the supplement force be with you.
People search the internet for everything, including you. With a few clicks, information from your past can be quickly discovered, from business deals gone wrong to misleading reviews, negative articles, and unflattering images. Studies show 78% of people search for someone online before doing business with them. Will they find the real you? With ReputationDefender.com, you can establish a positive internet presence. ReputationDefender.com pioneered the field with over a decade of experience, serving thousands of successful individuals and businesses. We use patented, award-winning systems to boost positive content and suppress negative material. Don't let the internet define you. Take control of your reputation today with ReputationDefender.com. For your quick, free reputation analysis, call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
This is Robert Hastings, author of UFOs and Nukes, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So the question here is something like this. There have been different interpretations of how this contract came to be. Is it in any part as a favor to Senator Reid? Remember, he was Senate Majority Leader at the time, a very powerful politician.
Favor?
They throw him a bone for doing this, or did he just make a good...
Who is they? I'm not following this at all.
Okay, well, obviously they're giving out...
Chapter 5.
Okay, they're letting a contract for $22 million. Who makes that decision?
Not the way it works at all. I refer people to Chapter 5 of my book on UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, and Reality. This is a fundamental mistake in thinking how the government works. Again, they would, if somebody, again, in this case, Defense Intelligence Agency, would have put out an RFP, and this can be limited. Or RFP is a request for proposal. It goes to people in a minute. Now, many of the open ones are available in the CBD, like Congressional, I forget the exact name of it, but it's the Daily Bulletin, where they put out all of the requests for proposal by the government. And this can include R&D, like we're talking about, buying toilet paper or tanks or airplanes. But there's a very set proposal, and these are handled by admin kinds of folks, not the people who are running the program. Now, in this case, they had obviously advanced to the point where they convinced Reid. Now, Reid was not alone in this. Senator Stevens was involved. And one of the things I had not known is that Stevens had had a personal experience, actually seeing a UFO when he was a pilot in the Air Force. You also had Daniel Inouye from Hawaii who was involved. So they were able to get it. You had money. And remember, the department was involved in advanced aerial threats, which is far broader than the UFOs. This would obviously be a small piece of what was going on there. Could be done in the open. And what they did is what Congress always does, earmark a small amount of money. And then the proposal goes out and is fulfilled by, some agency.
Well, I wanted to understand the process here so our listeners can understand how something like this would come to be. Then again, as you say, over a period of several years, $22 million is a drop in the bucket.
But remember, forget the 22 million. Go to 4 to 5. I mean, that's the level that this is. It eventually became 22. I might remind you that the UFO program, remote viewing program that went on SRI and then later to SAIC was about $20 million over a longer period. But the point is that everybody jumps on the $20 million. Now, for you and I am assuming that if that appeared in our personal bank account, it would be a big deal. But when you amortize it and you look at this, by the way, I did do the numbers on this contract and said from the DOD perspective, it is 0.001% of the budget. We're talking noise. And again, one of the things that happened and the reason they were able to go as long as they were, it was so far in the noise that nobody was looking at it seriously. When the visibility popped up, that's when the problems started, and you started people saying, why are we spending that money? This is, by the way, very consistent with what I had found 30 years ago. Remember, I ran a similar program starting in the 80s, full 2 decades, 2 to 3 decades before this one started. I give them credit in being able to get funded, but the issues involved very much the same.
No, you're referring to where you work at Los Alamos?
No. When I was on active duty,
I see.
Put together a similar team. I had representatives from all of the services, from various agencies in the intelligence community, and from the aerospace industry. And it was a TS, SCI level program just like this. And, came together to look, and our response or conclusions were almost identical to what has transpired here. They were able to get more data, but as far as getting any closer to serious answers, don't think they're there. I want to add one thing, though. I think it is a mistake to put this in the Department of Defense or even necessarily in the government alone. I think if you're going to solve any of these issues, I don't know that they are solvable, the effort has to be much, much broader.
Well,
I understand exactly why they did, because the procedures they followed seem to be almost identical to, again, what I did decades ago.
Well, it sure has become quite the story of the century in terms of this particular subject. Do you think that we're going to see anything else come from this in terms of more acceptance in the media and possibly even more congressional acceptance of the subject, just as a legitimate area of study?
I think there will probably be push. Again, if you read my book, we almost had congressional hearings, say around 2000. I was still with NIDS at that time. We had met with a congressman. Appendix to my books, I actually wrote the charter, draft charter for the congressional studies. It didn't happen. A lot of the problem, well, there were 2 things. One was we had Congressman Sensenbrenner, who was then the head of the Air and Space Committee, who was adamantly opposed. It was hell no, not on his watch. And then about the same time that we were going to just wait him out because they change every 2 years. About the time we got going, some guy by the name of Stephen Greer came to town and started beating the drum and scaring everybody and yelling at the government. And when that happened, they ballyhoo. You can still find the reports on the internet. All support totally disappeared at that point.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm wondering here, though, when you raise that issue, and we have to split for a break in a moment, that when you have people like a Stephen Greer or even a Stephen Bassett make rather sometimes outrageous demands for UFO disclosure, if that doesn't have the reverse effect, where they don't want to get involved with these people, and so even people who might have something to say will push back. What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what happened. Remember, contrary to what the UFO community, they think this is the most important thing since sex or sliced bread. From a political perspective, it is a strong negative. The congressman that we were dealing with, I looked at him and said, can you take a 20-point hit in the polls? And I do know, I'll give you the specific example, is Senator Pell, who was from Rhode Island, long history as a leading senator, many of the committees. He brought it up, and his opponent did bring up his interest in various phenomena, and it did take a 20-point hit in the poll. The most interesting thing was we do know his opponent, who lost, but she was personally interested in these areas and was just using this because she knew you could generate a negative response.
We're going to have a negative response if we don't do this break. Colonel John B. Alexander, Gene Steinberg, Chris O'Brien, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there's The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Do you have difficulty taking supplements? Are you searching for a high-quality, complete nutritional drink that your whole family will love? NutriMedical's Life Support has arrived. All of your daily nutritional requirements in one quick, delicious drink. Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support is a proprietary blend of vegan protein, activated vitamins, essential minerals, amino acids, probiotics, green tea, digestive enzymes, anti-inflammatories, cancer prevention, detoxification, and much more. Your body will high-five you for this one. Life Support is the best complete nutritious meal replacement on the market. Whether you are an elite athlete, have post-operative challenges, chronic illness, elderly, or a family that just wants a quick, delicious drink, try Dr. Bill Deagle's Life Support for optimized nutrition in one great tasting smoothie. Just add cold water, almond milk, fruit, or anything else you like. NutriMedical's Life Support. Try our great tasting chocolate or vanilla today. Call 888-212-8871 or visit us online at NutriMedical.com. NutriMedical.com for the whole family.
Most of us like to be out in the sun. That's why sunscreen and other safety measures are key to protecting your skin from aging and cancer. The FDA recommends using a sunscreen with an SPF of 15 or higher. Also, look for broad spectrum on the label. That means both harmful ultraviolet A and B rays are blocked. Remember, SPF plus broad spectrum equal healthy fun in the sun. Visit www.fda.gov/sunscreen for more information. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
This is Leslie Kean, and I'm with the Coalition for Freedom of Information, and you are listening to the Paracast.
We have a second radio show called After the Paracast that can be a little bit of anything, unpredictable. And you get it if you subscribe to the Paracast Plus. For more information, go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. And we're talking to Colonel Alexander about the Pentagon UFO study and kind of the background of how such things begin. And we mentioned as we close the session that it appears that sometimes the demand from the outside, from the wrong places about UFO disclosure can have the reverse effect. And it also can hurt the person in government, the congressman or senator who expresses an interest. Has Senator Reid said a lot about his interest in UFOs?
What about it?
Has he said anything much in public about his interest?
Well, since this became known, of course, he is out of office now, and that makes it very safe for him. He's not going to run again. He has said basically money well spent and just glad that they were involved and thinks it's a valid area to research. I mean, having said that, you do not see him, CNN or and any of the major news networks addressing these issues.
The question I have, of course, here is how closely tied is this DeLong to what Bob Bigelow is doing, or is he just happen to be there?
You'd have to ask him. As far as I know, he came along after the program had, the funded program had closed. I agree with the general thing that there are, some efforts that are continuing. Don't know if they're funded or not, or if it's just people who have significant interest in the area. DeLong's effort, to the stars is a private, for public good effort that is, I think, struggling for money. I don't think they're anywhere near what I think he had anticipated getting in tens of millions, and I understand they're down in between 2 and 3.
Well, they got $2 million pretty quickly. And that's pretty much been stagnant.
That $2 million was not quick in my estimation. And if you look at the number of donors that are involved, or actually investors is the better term, what you don't see is anybody coming in with $10 million. You do not see major investors. The ones that I've talked to who have is more like, had sufficient funds, and I'll do this just to encourage them and just so I can keep access to the information.
So I guess it's a little bit of a time for reassessment on their part. I still, to my, just looking at the whole thing and listening to him speak, I don't really understand where they want to do the most good. The entertainment part, I mean, that's a given. People love to be entertained, but when it comes to putting together programs that may be addressing hard scientific investigation and research. Maybe some real world-class analytical work on some of the evidence that may be available to them. I really don't see that much of a vision that really, I think it's, I'm not sure how well conceived the whole thing is. I
know the key people, and I think they have a pretty good idea. But I think some of the information that's been gleaned has given how Puthoff has talked about a better understanding of some advanced propulsion techniques. But we're talking about what we call basic science. I mean, the very fundamental levels, probably before you get to breadboard, let alone brassboard, i.e. we're building rudimentary models. As I've said, I think on your program and certainly any other that I get a chance to, I think that the phenomena are far broader than just looking at UFOs, and in fact, I think it's a mistake to stovepipe that.
Yeah.
But further, that whatever we're dealing with is at least as complex as AIDS or cancer, and we put tens to hundreds of billions of dollars into research in those areas. So when we start talking a couple of million,
I think the term would be chump change. I think would be.
I use that. The other thing I'm wondering here is, Bigelow has what, over $1 billion?
That's an assumption.
It's a private company, so nobody knows.
Yeah, that's an assumption.
So on the other hand, then, did he need to go find a government source for $22 million, or could he have just funded this himself?
Well, he has been. He's been spending millions of dollars.
Right.
I mean, that Skinwalker Ranch, that cost a lot of dough.
Well, sure, that's what I'm saying.
Bigelow has put more money of his personal money into this area, the UFO area, than probably anybody in the history of the effort.
No, I'd absolutely agree.
He also has Bigelow Aerospace, and has 2 satellites that are circulating us as we speak. He has a compartment that was attached to the ISS, the International Space Station. My understanding is that he has put, I understand it's around $300 million of his private money into this venture with very little output. And he used to joke and say the quickest way for a billionaire to become a millionaire is to invest in aerospace.
Yeah, Elon Musk and maybe even Bezos and a couple of others are, if they haven't found out already, they're going to. It's 3 steps forward, 2 and 5 8 steps back. There's no getting around the R&D curve,
Well, let's see. According to the published sources I checked, Bigelow's worth $1 billion, but Bezos is worth many, many times that.
Yeah. Well, so is Elon Musk.
There's a number of rich folks around, no doubt about that. Yeah. And one of the greatest problems we have in the U.S. today is the wealth disparity.
Yeah.
Somebody specifically where it's in unfair wealth disparity.
Okay, so it says here, wealth, this is the latest net worth, $98.6 billion for Bezos. Bill Gates, $90.2 billion, poor Bill. Mark Zuckerberg, 72.3. Elon Musk, 20.6.
Yeah, it's lonely at the top.
It sure is. It sure is. I don't know.
Well, I'm interested in when someone's going to crack open the NRO and find out what they know. Wouldn't that be interesting? The good old National Reconnaissance Office.
I don't think so. The problem that they encountered, and one of the biggest findings in the study that I ran, was that nobody's in charge. You've heard my presentation when I say there's good news and bad news.
Right.
And that's both of them are the government doesn't care, and that's true. what you had with this study is the same thing as an individual who was willing to go out on the limb, work his ass off, and make some minor advantages. I think we pointed out that we said the secretary did not, whom he knew personally, did not know about the study until hours before the New York Times hit. So, again, people just have no concept of how big organizations, particularly the government or Department of Defense, work and how information moves.
Yeah.
You can muck about. And by the way, the number that I had been given was very close to what was spent. I talked to people who work in the black world and said, yeah, you can do about $20 million before, real serious evaluation comes in and you start having to compete for money. But this is in, a small level of what would be called discretionary funds, and they covered it quite well by saying we're dealing with advanced threats, and there certainly were other advanced threats, particularly with the acceleration of drone UAV technology.
Yep.
So there's certainly something that needs to be studied seriously.
We've got more to come with Colonel John B. Alexander. Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors, classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
Please go to plus.theparacast.com for more information about After the Paracast, the ad-free version of this show, which you can get for a low subscription rate, plus.theparacast.com for the Paracast Plus. So guys, do you think after all this and the publicity it's received, we've learned anything new or different about UFOs? You seem to be focusing, obviously, most of the discussions on nuts and bolts with regard to the study as opposed to what we might have learned.
No, you're talking physics. Do we know anything more about the science or
anything about UFOs? I mean, gun camera photos are not going to necessarily lead us to greater knowledge, are they?
No, and also the quality of those particular released bits of footage call many things into question in my mind. I mean, that looks like technology from the 70s or 80s that we're looking at instead of something.
You're totally missing the point in that case. It is not about gun camera videos. The point is that in the incident that happened, it occurred over a period of a couple of weeks. And they mentioned that when that footage was taken, you had 3 separate radar systems, because people have talked about the film and say, oh, it's just a fluke or something. You had 3 distinct different radar. You had the most advanced system on the surface from the ships. You had the airborne command post that was tracking it, as well as the aircraft themselves.
There was an AWACS up, John? I didn't realize that.
Yep. One of them was AWACS, but I know there was an airborne command post that is the second system, and the third was the onboard system and the visual observation.
Right.
So the point is that you have multi-sensory data, and I've seen all of these arguments about, how good is the film or the release. I suspect it was probably degraded to some degree.
Yeah, that was my point.
I have reason to believe that before it was released, because the issue is not about UFOs. It's about guarding sources and methods, specifically how good are your sensors. That's the thing you would want to keep secret.
Yeah, and so that would make sense why they would degrade the apparent quality there. And that's very frustrating, though, because I know, based on a little bit of research, that they do have quite amazing technological capabilities nowadays.
Again, if we get back to it, that's why I do not think this is a military issue. What the military, other government agencies bring to the table are some pretty exquisite sensor systems. However, remember, this is a global phenomenon, has been going on for millennia. You can't bottle it up and keep it, this is going to be, my UFOs, if you will. And I think we need a global effort. You certainly need civilian institutions involved. It gets back to one of my mantras that I use in everyone. I use this in Reality Denied, and say what we need to do is to make it permissible for senior scientists across the board, not just government scientists, to become involved and study these phenomena without risking their livelihood, reputation, careers.
Yeah, that's really the most important, I think, message that I get from your outspoken opinions, and that's a mantra that you've been repeating for years, and it's absolutely the foremost thing that really we need to address culturally to make these subjects acceptable for mainstream individuals, the talent that we have, to be able to exercise their creative abilities and curiosity without being ostracized and without being have to cower because they're worried about tenure, their retirement, or any sort of problems currently in their job. You meet people online who are so into the subject and they're so paranoid when you ask, well, what's your real name? And they freak out because, God forbid word should get out that they are interested in these subjects. This guy calls himself Isaac Coy online. He's a barrister in England. He has done more single-handedly to digitize old analog magazines and reports and things than anybody I know, and the guy is in fear of being exposed. He's still slogging away and digitizing all this great historical and very important, I think, case files and publications and other things. And he's an example of someone that's remaining anonymous, but still being very, very public in doing the work that needs to be done, that nobody else is bothering to pick up the workload and deal with it. John, I commend you on that, and I have been echoing that same observation now for years. You inspired me to really make that a major issue in any talks that I give on the radio or any talks I do out there. That's something I always say, that if this wasn't so taboo in the culture, we would be possibly light years ahead in our understanding.
Well, is going to take that because, again, it gets back. The complexity of the phenomena is just mind-boggling. As you know, I've used a term called the precognitive sentient phenomena.
Right.
And that came out of things we observed at Skinwalker Ranch. But that, like I say, there's something that's in charge, and it ain't us. And it's terribly complex, and we need the best and brightest minds involved in trying to, advance some of these topics.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen. Here. I absolutely agree. 100%, 110%. And like you said, anything short of that is really going to be a problem. We're not going to be able to do the quality of work and be able to, put our intellectual resources that we have to bear on the situation and the questions. We need the best and the brightest. Absolutely.
And we need them to have access to the best sensors available and things of that nature. And you're only going to get that. Just expense alone drives you into an institutional response to try and do those sorts of things.
I'm dealing with that right now with the San Luis Valley Monitoring Project. We designed our own little sort of record on motion, detect motion, record on motion software. It's good for $5,000 or whatever we put into it. But compared to the big boys, I mean, I just lust after some of the targeting software that the government has to be able to put that up on 3 cell towers and coordinate their data gathering. That would really be something. But, unfortunately, it's you got to kind of do a DIY. Yeah, it's a do-it-yourself kind of situation. Well, 20 years ago when I first thought of it, it would have been over $2 million to do the whole thing. $1 million for gear, another $1 million for to go to infrared and other more exotic detection equipment that was available. But now, I mean, we're talking $60,000 to really get it going, and then double that for forward-looking infrared for visual stuff at night, or gathering that sort of data on the infrared level from that spectrum. But again, it's a lot more affordable now. But again, that's 60 grand that we're going to have to throw at the thing ultimately. So, I mean, it can be done, but it's much more difficult when you don't have the deep pockets of a Bob Bigelow or the clout within the congressional budget offices and the committees that look at these proposals.
Yeah, well, one of the comments that I've heard that I think is unfortunate, and this comes out of, I guess, a subset of the UFO community, and that's, shall we just say, experiencers, if you will. And that, they go, ain't it awful that they're talking about a threat? It's not really a threat, and all that. I say, well, the problem you have to remember is that these people had to justify their expense. They are working for the Department of Defense, and so it has to be something that relates to defending the nation.
John B. Alexander, Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Neighbors, we've made such a deal with HelloFresh, and it means that everyone listening to this show can receive $30 off your first week of deliveries when you go to HelloFresh.com and use the offer code Paracast30. With HelloFresh, you can choose the delivery day that works best for you. They've got a wide variety of chef-curated recipes that change weekly. And can you imagine me cooking Japanese panko chicken? It makes me feel like I'm a chef. It means also that you could actually get your meal cooked in 30 minutes. For busy people, this is perfect. The simple recipes include step-by-step instructions so even I can figure it out. Go to HelloFresh.com, use the offer code Paracast30, To get $30 off your first week of deliveries, HelloFresh.com.
Attention business owners and independent contractors. This is a money-saving message from Tax Mediation Services. If your business owes $20,000 or more in taxes, we can help you today, right now. Listen, dealing with the IRS is no picnic. It's an intimidating and extremely stressful process, and you don't want to go it alone. Our attorneys know every law, every tax break, and every possible opportunity to help you resolve and reduce your tax debt. And if you owe more than $20,000, you may be at the top of their hit list. So don't take your tax debt lightly, because it will not go away on its own. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, your home, and even shut down your business. Call our tax experts today at 1-800-765-9681 and let us deal with the IRS while you focus on your business. That's 1-800-765-9681. Again, that's 800-765-9681.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon, or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
People search the internet for everything, including you. With a few clicks, information from your past can be quickly discovered, from business deals gone wrong to misleading reviews, negative articles, and unflattering images. Studies show 78% of people search for someone online before doing business with them. Will they find the real you? With ReputationDefender.com, you can establish a positive internet presence. ReputationDefender.com pioneered the field with over a decade of experience, serving thousands of successful individuals and businesses. We use patented, award-winning systems to boost positive content and suppress negative material. Don't let the internet define you. Take control of your reputation today with ReputationDefender.com. For your quick, free reputation analysis, call 800-831-0771. That's 800-831-0771. 800-831-0771. Or visit ReputationDefender.com.
Hi, I'm Marcia Miller from Mud Pie. Every new parent dreams of bringing their baby home for the first time. But some babies are born too sick or too soon to come home right away. That's why Mud Pie supports the life-saving research and programs of the March of Dimes, the leading nonprofit organization for pregnancy and baby health. Help us give every baby a fighting chance so that more babies can come home healthy. Learn how at marchofdimes.org.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
What I understand, John, from what you're saying there in our previous segment is the Defense Department has to justify some kind of national security angle. Does this, whatever it is, present a potential threat? Then they can go for it.
This is their job. They are the Department of Defense. This, again, gets back to people do not understand how the government works. And you've probably seen my slides that say there is no Department of Good Ideas. The way it works is that you have given amount of money, N, whatever N is, and that you run out of money long before you run out of good ideas of things that you ought to do. So it's a highly competitive environment, including in the black world. And again, we saw what happened when the visibility was raised. People came after them and said, what are you doing? How do you justify that? I can better use the money. And the competition in that world is just as fierce as it is in the white world.
Yeah, probably more so even when you get down to specifics in specific areas that are highly, highly competitive. Yeah, I would imagine. And people have to also understand that governments are like glacial in terms of changing the culture within government. the military, the Department of Defense. It's very, very difficult. It's like the old proverbial turning a battleship with a wooden oar. It's very, very difficult to change the mindset, the culture, the thinking. It almost has to be changed for it, like a Second World War expedited. I think a lot of things within government, the whole glacial aspect of government was kind of thrown out the door.
You're actually raising a very interesting point here, and that is we have basically been at war for the last 2001, so we're now talking more than 16 to 17 years. My point there is when you hear about, they're hiding all this technology and all of that. Well, you look at the advances that have been made, because you are correct in that during periods of conflict and when we're doing this, that technologies do advance and they do generally spill out into the civilian sector, at least eventually. And the point here is you look at what advances have been made, and about the best you can point to is the F-35. One of the pluses is there have been advances in prosthetics because people on the battlefield fortunately live longer, but then require additional resources for support. Yeah, what you don't see, at least I don't see anywhere, is any big leaps in propulsion technology or stealth or anything like that.
Wouldn't that support the argument that we really haven't made the real exotic breakthroughs that some conspiracy buffs would like us to believe?
Basically, yes.
Well, how about anti-grav technology? I mean, there's been rumors for years that the B-2 has some sort of anti-grav takeoff capability or lift help.
V-stall and anti-gravity are not the same by any stretch of the imagination.
Okay, well, some people maybe get their terms mixed up. Never can trust what you read on the internet.
B-2 does not have any anti-gravity capability. And remember, if you did, this is where I and the community, I guess, run into difficulty. If you had this capability, it also infers that you have a fundamental different source of energy. And so that you use that just to make a little widget that flies around belies logic. Because if you have this external energy system that's fundamentally different from anything that we've got now, it changes the geopolitical situation in the world.
You would think, yeah.
You no longer have to worry about the Middle East or placating people that we don't like very much and don't get along with. It changes everything, and little widgets that fly are interesting, but not terribly important.
Yeah. Well, that's always been my argument against, the secret space program. And, in terms of a robust, gallivanting around the solar system sized program. Obviously, we have some military projects that are, I'm sure, are fairly operational, if not more than that. But when you're talking about fleets of starships and bases on Mars, bases on the moon, that's the one thing. And again, I'll echo your observation that that sort of technology would have at some point filtered out into the mainstream. And stories of Philip Corso and other whistleblower types that claim that certain technologies that we have now currently that are publicly known have been salted into the public sector, fiber optic cables, Velcro, I've heard, certain laser technology, transistors. All you do is a little bit of research and you find out exactly where all that technology came from and who developed it and what the development curve was. It's all public knowledge. So I totally agree with you that if we had that sort of exotic technology already, we wouldn't be building F-35s and craft that are, questionable in their bang for the buck, their value.
Do you know who Burt Rutan is?
Yes.
Okay, well, Bert was by a couple of months ago. I had the opportunity to spend the day, and we talked specifically about the advances in the F-35 and how good it was. And he points out that the fundamentals of that technology are about 20 years old. And so while we're seeing it advance now, that it is, far from, the I can't say the cutting edge, but it's about as good as we can get for being implemented.
Yeah.
One of the things we point out is that, in this is an area I worked in, is my last job specifically was Director of Advanced System Concepts for the Army Laboratory Command. And I had a lot of very, very high-tech stuff, some of which we're seeing, some of which not. And the point is, it just takes that long for this to move from what we discussed earlier, the basic science technique, to fielding, minimum 15 years.
If we had secret alien technology, sir, recovered from somewhere, why aren't we seeing the fruits of that information? I mean, after all, we should be flying all around the galaxy by now. No, wait a minute. That's in a science fiction TV show. Oh, well, there you go. I came to a dead stop.
I thought you were asking Chris specifically. The answer is because we don't.
Obviously.
It changes everything. And as I've said, we talk consistently about disclosure, and of course my question is disclosure of what?
Let me break and let's talk about that further, because that stuff has arisen again in light of all this with Colonel John B. Alexander. Gene and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
The answer to being in control of your own healthcare is freedom from insurance. Become part of a group of self-pay patients that come together to share in each other's medical expenses. Individual share amounts begin at $107 a month and $347 for families. Choose from 3 health-sharing programs. Holistic treatments may be eligible for sharing. See guidelines. Discount programs available for dental, vision, and pharmacy. Go to libertyoncall.org. That's libertyoncall.org.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Sling bow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of sling bow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Ted Anderson telling you about Jordan Rubin's Beyond Organic Green-Fed Raw Cheddar Artesian Cheese featuring whole milk created through ancient dairy breeding, unpasteurized, untreated whole milk on the same farm the cows graze, containing natural sources of omega-3s, CLA protein, calcium, probiotics, and enzymes. I have never tasted cheese this good, and you need to try it. Contact your longevity distributor or call 877-878-4203 or go to gcnteam.com.
Kiss your credit card debt goodbye. I'm Pharmacist Keith. Dr. Wallach, the Dead Doctors Don't Lie guy, and myself want to show you how to achieve financial peace, creating an extra income that will last for years to come by joining Dr. Wallach's crusade, spreading his message of better health. To learn more, visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com, radio.recordedvideo.com, or call 866-257-3105 for a recorded message.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
Message and data rates may apply.
Oh my gosh, that's Frank Thomas. No. Yes, that's him. Go ahead. Excuse me, are you Frank Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I bet you get recognized a lot.
I was a pretty good ball player.
You were?
Some people thought so.
Sorry, we recognize you from those Nugenics commercials.
Oh, yeah? That's great.
So does Nugenics really work?
Oh, yeah. I really can feel the difference. My workouts are better, and I feel a lot more energetic.
I wish my husband would use Nugenics.
It's so easy to get started. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Text the word PRIME44 to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenics, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And you're going to like the difference, too.
Text PRIME44 to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of Nugenics. Samples are not available in stores. Text PRIME44 to 42424.
This is Jacques Vallée. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So, of course, as Colonel Alexander said, where are the fruits of this reverse engineered technology that may exist? So the disclosure advocates probably feel they're being vindicated by all this news about the Pentagon UFO study. And I asked Chris before, well, what have we seen? Have we seen anything new? It teaches us anything more about the UFOs and what they're all about? What's your observation?
Well, I have not seen the reports. Now, one of the things, again, if I revert back to the study that I did in the 1980s, one of our hypotheses was that if you just studied the technology or the observation, the characteristics and aerodynamics of whatever these objects are, that it could lead you to, through inference, try to figure out what it would take to be able to do that, and that you could make technological advances. One of the major things is that you've got to believe that it can exist, and the way you do that is observation of what does exist out there and how you can apply that. There's a lot of examples of this, by the way. One that I use that I was cautioning folks on, you remember Stuxnet? Does that ring a bell at all?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and the Iranian centrifuges, I think, didn't they?
Somebody went after the Iranian centrifuges with advanced technology. My point at the time, and I think it's proven quite accurately, well and good, glad you could do that, but you've now told everybody this is possible.
Yeah.
And once they see the model, even if you don't understand everything about it, it now says this is direction to focus your research.
Yeah, all those development, those leaps forward in applying technology definitely then comes back to bite you. It's kind of how it works, it's life, unfortunately. Well, again, I'm still scratching my head wondering what it took to get Hal Puthoff to get involved in To the Stars Academy. Because, I've been a big fan of Hal, and I'm not that familiar with what he's been doing the last 20 years, but I know it's been some very, very serious work that he's been doing, at the behest of at the Department of Defense and probably others. I don't know, but I do know the man would not get involved in a project like this unless, A, there were other individuals involved that he respected and could work with, and that's the case in this particular instance. But, you've talked to him. What was dangled in front of him to get him to publicly, get behind something that is being kind of the figurehead and it's the spearhead of the whole thing is a power punk kind of band rock star guitar player? There's a disconnect here in my mind about this, and I'm still trying to reconcile.
I do not understand everything that I see in that regard myself, except that I do know, again, several of the people, and that they hope to be able to get the information out. They do think that, and this is secondhand now, that they have sufficient information to make potentially some of the big leaps in advancing technology, but that this was the best thing to come along, most equitable opportunity. So whether they'll get further or not, certainly got some good minds working on it. But having said that, like I say, if you go to the website, look at the amount of money.
Yeah, that's only going to get you so far down the road. And there's a couple of other areas that I think we should address here. And one was the very curious and I would say very surprising admittance that Robert Bigelow has a special room that's been hardened or made.
A skiff is a skiff. I mean, I don't find that terribly exciting. Right?
Well, they're talking about, a material that can be, I'm not sure exactly how the wording is, but it sounds like, alien technology, some sort of metals or some sort of debris possibly has been sequestered. Now, what are we talking about here? Do you have any knowledge of what those samples are?
I don't have any direct knowledge of it. But having said that, again, if you go back to 1980s, the project that I was involved with, we knew that there were certain unusual or pieces of equipment with unusual chemical properties. And the issue was, how do you go ahead and do the research on it? Now, at NIDS, we did get in some materials, but the point there is that the research was done basically contracted out. It was not done in-house. Now, I don't know what his current capabilities are, whether they have, but I think, again, if you're going to deal with best and brightest, the kinds of analysis that I think would have to be done, you would want the capabilities of a national laboratory or something.
Absolutely.
Like that.
And you'd want to duplicate and triplicate your testing as well. Quick question. Do you know if possibly some of the items that may be sequestered away include the little metal rods that were found at the cattle mutilation site on the Skinwalker Ranch?
I thought those were looked at. I don't know. In fact, I know that was looked at and quite unremarkable. We were able to determine they were from some kind of lantern of some kind.
Okay, yeah, I heard they were tractor parts is what somebody told me, but the very fact that they were there in the place where they were found seemed a little strange.
The point is that the research, the actual analysis was contracted out. That was not done in-house.
Right. With a lab that didn't know what they were looking at, really, I'm sure. But they were kept totally in the dark. At least that's how I do it. Well, I mean, what are we talking about here? Is this stuff that Mr. Bigelow has obtained on his own? Is this stuff that's been given to him by the government? It's still very unclear in my mind. Maybe it's a combination of the two. And why would you even mention that?
I have no idea.
Because the very fact that was even brought up and became, and I think it wasn't as Elizondo that mentioned that initially, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember who.
I think it might have been. Somebody check that for me. Again, I mean, why would you even mention something like that? I mean, that is so controversial, just in nature, number one, and number two, it'd be something that could really become highly sensationalized and could create a lot of problems in a PR sort of sense. I don't understand the thinking. Maybe you have some insight. I don't.
Have no knowledge. I can't speak responsibly on that issue at all.
Well, if you had to guess, what would your guess be?
I'm not going to get into a guessing contest.
Well, I had to give it a shot. I had to try. Well, I could guess, not having, the relationships in the background that you have, of course, I'm already probably considered a loose cannon by many people already. So it would be no problem for me to venture some guesses. So I don't know. I will just drop that. The very fact that they claim that they have material gathered from these anomalous objects is very tantalizing and sensational.
Yeah, in my briefings that took place decades ago, that was a piece of it, is that we knew that certain material existed, it certainly has reported to exist, and we thought that having access to it would be, beneficial. And but get back to the bottom line was nobody was willing to fund it.
We got to do a break here. We'll continue with John B. Alexander, Gene, and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Be sure to visit GCNlive.com today.
Do you need a website? Well, you can get a great deal on hosting services with Namecheap's legendary coupon code. They're offering substantial hosting discounts on shared hosting, business hosting, VPS hosting, reseller hosting, and even dedicated servers. Namecheap is preferred by millions. It's backed by a money-back guarantee. Use the coupon code LEGENDARY to cash in on the special deal at Namecheap.com, Namecheap.com.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Anytime, any place, anywhere. Radio remains the most intimate of all forms of media. At home, at work, in the car, on smartphones. Over 90% of consumers still listen to radio every week. That makes choosing radio as a place to advertise your business one of the best decisions you can make. Email advertise@gcnlive.com and partner up with an experienced GCN representative. Advertise@gcnlive.com. Easy, affordable, effective.
Are you living your passion? Are you pumped to go to work because you get to talk about or work with or do the things that interest you the most? Is working, playing, and relaxing one and the same? As long as you're working for someone else, you'll never be living entirely true to yourself and your passion. I'm Pharmacist Keith. Let me show you how you can work around your current schedule, create the extra income so you can live your passion. Visit radio.recordedvideo.com. That's radio.recordedvideo.com. radio.recordedvideo.com.
Does the current world crisis in North Korea or our domestic crisis right here in America concern you? Well, I know it concerns me. My friends over at Legacy Food Storage have solutions in the event there's the inevitable. What's the inevitable? Civil unrest, a run on your local grocery store. And here's my question to you. If this happens, how do you feed your children? How do you feed your grandchildren? Legacy Food Storage has the solutions. In fact, they can help you implement a simple plan to take care of your needs in the event of the inevitable. By calling them right now, I have authorized them to give you a special 20% discount at checkout by simply using GCN. Call 888-543-7345 or visit them at legacyfoodstorage.com. That's 888-543-7345 or visiting them at legacyfoodstorage.com. Make sure you use GCN at checkout for an incredible 20% discount. Don't be a victim. Take control of your life now.
Age-related macular degeneration is the leading cause of blindness in people over 55, but with treatment it can be slowed down, stopped, and in some cases reversed. Make sure you see your grandchildren grow. Protect your vision by requesting information about diagnosing and treating AMD. Call the Foundation Fighting Blindness today at 1-800-BLINDNESS for a free packet on reversing or managing AMD, or go to the website fightblindness.org, where I found so much helpful information. Or again, call 1-800-BLINDNESS today.
Hi, this is Joshua P. Warren, author of The Poor Man's Paranormal, and you're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
A little bit later, I noticed there's one or two questions from our audience in the question bank. We only announced this episode a couple of hours before it was due to take place. So, Chris, you want to continue?
I don't know. This whole thing is just downwind of the fish market to me. It's like we're in a whole new reality here. It's like, we're in some other alternate universe or something. All of a sudden, UFOs have become acceptable to, some of the most staid and respected media outlets on the planet. And this doesn't happen in a vacuum. I don't know,
It's a very simple, logical process. And, trying to dig up conspiracy theories or convolute it is not, I don't think, beneficial.
Well, who said anything about conspiracy theories? I'm just wondering how the timing could be so perfect. And then we had the X-Files, reboot last night.
What do you mean by perfect?
Well, the timing was such that the Times were in a position to go ahead and run with the story after they obviously vetted it. And once that domino went down, then you have all these other dominoes that flop over. It just seems so amazingly well thought out. If you could look at it from
it probably was, but I think you're forgetting that at the IUFOC last year, which was February, you had an announcement from DeLong that they expected within a few weeks to be making the announcement, which did not come for many, many, many months later.
Yeah, true. Yeah, there was a bit of
they had been working. It was tremendously difficult to get the rollout that eventually took place.
Yeah.
So things did not fall into place easily.
Well, they sure made it seem like it, and hats off to them, because this is the most positive news that at least the UFO field has had. And again, I echo your caution to not stovepipe this whole thing, that we are dealing with something that is interconnected not only with human consciousness and some sort of time-based element, but also across the paranormal phenomena. There's connecting points all over that the average person is totally oblivious to. And so it is highly, highly complex, and way more complex than the public thinks right now. No question in my mind. And that may be one of the main reasons why this subject has not been taken publicly seriously by possibly the government and industry, academia, because it is so complex. And
one of the things I pointed out when I worked in what we called the building, I used to run around looking for this guy Pentagon, because I always heard on the news the Pentagon says this and the Pentagon says that. The reality is the Pentagon doesn't say anything. It's a big stone building, but it's inhabited by about 30,000 roughly people who come with a wide variety of beliefs and interests, whatnot. So you're lucky, with the current administration, who knows what policy is. I mean, this is just, beyond belief, the kinds of things we see happening. But again, I think it's disadvantageous to look and say, what does the government know? I know it's a popular statement, but the government made up of many, many people with a wide variety of beliefs, and I think that's a critical aspect. I do know that one of the things that happened when the program got increased visibility and people were coming out and saying, I want a piece of the action, and why are you doing that? And I'd rather have the money for my project. One of the things that I used to find amusing when I did work in the Pentagon was people running around saying, I'm going to find money, like money grew on trees or in pots or something that you could then find and put it out. And the issue was that if you were finding money, when you were stealing it from some other already authorized program,
right,
and transferring the funds.
Yeah.
Battle for those sorts of things, as I said before, it just internally extremely vicious. And people on the outside...
And it's the same in academia in many ways.
To a degree. But there is not some place where there is an endless pot of money that can be, accessed and delivered to, whomever. The great fairy godfather is just not there.
Yeah, except the Federal Reserve's printing operation.
Well,
we won't go there.
Don't print, yeah. Oh, these agencies do not print money. You have, again, this gets back to understanding how the system works, and allocation. Yeah, I know that certainly slop in some area, misappropriation in others, but internally, it is watched very closely. And,
it's cat and dogs too, boy. Cats and dogs.
Yep.
Well, I've got an interesting question here, and this I think has been brought up. I think just peripherally in a couple of articles and internet posts that I've seen, and that is, this comes from Ezekiel, who's been a longtime member of the Paracast forums at forum.theparacast.com, where you can ask our guests questions. And he's wondering if religious belief, especially in this case Christian belief, plays an important role in non-investigation and non-disclosure. In other words, I think what he's wondering is there...
No, I got the question, and the answer, does it play a role? Yes. But is it a non-interest? Generally, no. I do know that there were people involved that once this program again became visible internally, who took the position that these must be related to angels or demons or something like that, and therefore, earthlings should not be involved. When we had remember the remote viewing program,
right?
And there's parallels there, where we had folks that said, and this went all the way to Chief of Staff of the Army.
It's the work of the devil.
Yeah, exactly. You can do that, but we shouldn't, because of those issues. So, again, you got in the building alone, let alone all the peripheral organizations, 30,000 people and 30,000 opinions.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. He wants to. He's saying that if that's the case, if there is an element of Christian fundamentalism that may be somehow driving response to the phenomenon and actual impeding of the progress of our understanding of it.
I got to disagree. Not specifically with the term driving. These things are, in my experience, all individuals, and they control certain domains.
Right.
You get to POTUS, driving the Chinese hoax of climate change and things like that. But
right.
But that's a good example, because you look down below and the institutions going like, no, it's real.
Yeah. Well, if there is a role that's being played by individuals that somehow is influential and does have some weight behind it, and if religion is even a factor at all, Ezekiel's wondering, will other non-religious countries take the lead in this area? He says, as per Harry Reid. and gain a strategic advantage over us.
You get back into the belief system of key individuals, and one of the things I've talked about repeatedly is the difference between individual interest and institutional responsibility. Because in our case, we're supposed to have separation of church and state, but having said that we do know that certain religious influences are involved in, many decisions that are out there. The idea that logic wins and that you can make these logical arguments just does not take the day. The point is that emotion trumps logic on almost every count.
Hey, we got to do a break here. We'll have more to come with John B. Alexander and Gene and Chris. You're in the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
We also have swag. We have all these exclusive Paracast things that you can buy. We've got 60 or so different items, and entails t-shirts, sleeves for notebook computers, iPad cases, mouse pads, the Paracast Jumbo tote bag, all sorts of t-shirts and jackets and stuff like that for men and women. We have a Paracast aluminum water bottle. All this stuff, you go to store.theparacast.com, store.theparacast.com. What makes it special is that the items are the best quality, great t-shirts, fabrics, and they have our official logo on them. That's what makes them special, in multiple sizes and colors. We even have stuff for children, stuff for women, stuff for men. We have all sorts of sizes, like small up to X large. A lot of good stuff. That's the swag from the Paracast. You go to store.theparacast.com, stop by, and take a shopping tour.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size for incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency. Get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com, virtual care anywhere.
Welcome back to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio. And now, here's Gene Steinberg.
As we focused earlier, because so many people have been salivating over this UFO study and the dreams and hopes of disclosure and repeating every year it's going to happen now or it's going to happen then and all that. What can we do really to move research forward?
You got any simple questions?
Well, that can be subdivided in 2,000 different questions, but really, it seems as if it just goes on without change.
Well, but one of the issues that I have brought up repeatedly, and it's probably a good segue from the religious issue,
sure,
because we are talking fundamental belief systems. From a government perspective, you do not expect the government to do research into areas that support your belief system. For instance, don't know of any studies in near death or postmortem communication or a host of other issues. A little bit in healing, unless you call it spiritual healing, and then it belongs outside. So these areas that are out there says you really need to go to independent agencies, things that are not part of the government. One of my issues has been, if you look at how money is spent, look at the Large Hadron Collider is an example. I think we've spent about $17 billion on that already, looking for the God particle. And that's based on a model of the universe that's purely materialistic and of very interest to a very, very small subset of people. And yet, if I take, again, the studies, I wrote to this in Reality Denied. I have a whole section on being dead, literally, and near-death experience, and that ought to be of interest to 100% of the population. And yet, since everybody's going to have a chance to encounter a transition at least once, the point is that we spend almost nothing and can't convince very few people. You get individual donors who fund minor studies. But that ought to be, a front burner item, and yet it isn't.
After all this time, do you think that the major publicity this episode has received in the New York Times and other publications, is that going to cause ongoing interest, or is this something that after the human interest stories, it's going to fade out in a few months and that's going to be it for now?
It's a blip. The problems that are facing the country and the world today are absolutely massive. Now, the problem here is that you have a small group of people, i.e. the UFO community, whatever that is, or maybe we say communities because they are split and, cannibalistic. But, it's really very, very small. The general population has, sort of a generic interest in the topic, but it's not a burning issue for them. So unless something is done or some major breakthrough occurs, I think from a news perspective, it'll be, a few stories on that. But this has always been the status quo. This really hasn't changed in at least half a century.
It is. You get this flurry of interest, a new sighting, and then everybody's talking about it. It's always going to be focused on spaceships, nothing else. And then it just fades away, supplanted, obviously, by the ongoing things that are happening right now, in addition to record colds back east, storms, crisis overseas with North Korea, the political machinations in Washington. It's hard to think there's anything else going on.
Well, this gets to, the issues. Some folks that we know come up with the notion that ET is here, walking among us, and my point there is, if that is true, and a significant percentage of the population actually believes that, not for our benefit. And they're certainly not helping with the issues that you just described. I haven't seen the lessening of wars or, complex issues, disease problems, climate change, pick your macro issues. If anything, they seem to be exacerbated. So ET didn't bring any great benevolent answers to us. I mean, having said that, I should throw out, and, that I've talked about the cases like Chris Bledsoe where interactions have occurred, and you have things like spontaneous healing. Obviously has advantages for certain individuals.
This, of course, is the biggest issue here. You have all these people running around claiming to have been contacted somehow by space brothers, or they're channeling or something like that. We get letters all the time from people like that offering to be on the show, and they claim to have all these insights. And then I ask them, well, what have they done? What has ET done for us lately? How many people, right, how many people die yesterday of opioid addiction? What has ET done about that? How many people die in the Middle East for one crisis or another? What about car crashes? What about shootings? when's it going to happen? When's ET going to land and get things together? On the other hand, what's your perception of experiencers such as people who claim to be abducted by UFOs?
Well, my position has been pretty clear, and that is that there are reports of contact between humans and sentient non-humans throughout the entirety of human history. Appears basically in every culture, everywhere around the world. Oh, by the way, they happen to drop in on little silver ships is kind of a fairly new wrinkle to that. But the reality of some sort of interaction is, I think, very significant, highly probable. We go back to, again, my view, the fundamental difference in belief systems, and in the West it tends to be materialistic, as opposed to the folks that I've interacted with all over the world who take a spirit world. I think I've mentioned before, dealing with shamans, that you have shamans who move seamlessly between the spirit world and consensus reality, or what we call the real world, whereas, you know, in the West, if you even believe in the spirit world, it is something that is separate and distinct from the, quote, real world. I'm not sure there's a difference. I happen to have had experiences that certainly talks to the high probability of reality that there's a spirit world or worlds, and that they interact with consensus reality as we know it.
Now, when you talk of consensus reality, is that like a collective unconscious?
No, it's like the collective conscious. I mean, reach out and, you know, you're talking on some kind of microphone now. That's real. You can reach out and touch it and feel it and whatnot. The spirit world is certainly sometimes interacts with that. You get into issues such as ports or things of that nature, where you have or spiritual healing, other kinds of interactions, information that's provided. I think those are all indicative. A couple of months ago, when Reality Denied first came out, I mentioned the thing. I had an incident happen here that I documented basically as best I could on Facebook, of all things, but I had an envelope that had critical information in it that I absolutely needed. Tore my office totally apart looking for it. Couldn't find it. Even asked my wife if she had taken the envelope, and nope, it was not it.
Let's break here and get the answer. What happened to that envelope? With Gene, John, and Chris, you're in
the Paracast.
Attack of the Rockoids has been well received by critics and readers alike. It's a thrill-a-minute story you'll never forget. A former U.S. military intelligence officer is haunted by intense dreams about a beautiful woman, pleading for his help after a terrible battle in outer space. But the dreams turn out to be true and thrust him into a telepathic love affair with a woman whose faraway planet is intent on destroying the Earth. And now the gripping tale continues in The Coming of the Protectors. It's the second book of the Rockoids trilogy, a galaxy-spanning adventure that pits our hapless heroes against powerful, fanatical enemies that threaten the lives of freedom-loving beings everywhere. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Classic science fiction at its best, available now. For more details, visit rockoids.com. That's ROCKOIDS.com.
It's been said, any society is only 3 missed meals away from chaos. Those times may be near. Think about it. Our country faces multiple terrorist threats and aggressions from Russia and North Korea. Social unrest and violent marches yet again may lead to looting of stores and city shutdowns. And our crumbling infrastructure leaves our power grid vulnerable to long-term outages from a single cyber attack. When the chaos from any one of these threats arises, the government knows it can't provide during a widespread national emergency. That's why you need your own plan for self-reliance. That's where My Patriot Supply comes in. Get a 4-week survival food supply for only $99. That includes breakfast, lunches, and dinners. Order online at preparewithgcn.com. $99 for 4 weeks of survival food that tastes like homemade cooking and lasts up to 25 years from My Patriot Supply. Get your kits today at preparewithgcn.com. Free shipping is included. preparewithgcn.com.
Frustrated trying to get business capital? Want to take the slow process and rejection out of the equation? GCNloans.com removes the slow, irritating approval process. Instead, get quick, simple funding. Powered by David Allen Capital, 80% of our pre-qualified clients are approved in days. Pre-qualify at GCNloans.com and get your money this week. It's that easy. GCNloans.com. That's GCNloans.com.
Non-attorney paid spokesperson. Could your house go into foreclosure? Are you behind on your mortgage payments? Does it seem like the bank has no interest in helping you save your home? And you feel like you have nowhere to turn for help? Then we have good news for you. Foreclosure Protection Services can help save your home as they specialize in foreclosure assistance. That's all they do. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, being threatened with foreclosure, have been denied a loan modification, or been the victim of a predatory loan, it's critical that you call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. Their network of attorneys and their agents are available to speak to you now. If you're behind on your mortgage payments, Foreclosure Protection Services can help stop the foreclosure process. Call today before it's too late. New laws are in effect that may save your home. Call Foreclosure Protection Services now at 800-667-9035. 800-667-9035. That's 800-667-9035.
It's a no-brainer. A Big Berkey water filter is the one you need, period. You need a water filter that removes chlorine, fluoride, pharmaceuticals, BPA, and other endocrine disruptors, pesticides, bacteria, viruses, and much more, right? And does it all at only 2 cents per gallon. Get the original and most trusted name in gravity water filtration, Big Berkey. And now GCN listeners receive 5% off ceramic filter systems using code GCN. Call or click 1-877-99-BERKEY or BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY.
We'd like to hear from you. If you have a comment or question about the Paracast, send it to news@theparacast.com. That's news@theparacast.com. And don't forget to visit our famous Paracast community forums at forum.theparacast.com.
So what happened to the envelope, John Alexander?
What happened is I came in, sat down at the desk the next morning, and the envelope was sitting between me and the computer at arm's length on top of all of the things that I had moved to find it the day before. I actually photographed that and, put it up immediately. And first thing was contact my wife and said, "Did you move the envelope?" And absolutely not. So it 100% was not there the night before, and absolutely was there in the morning, and she and I were the only ones in the house in the intervening period.
So it just happened to turn up.
Yeah. The point is, extensive searching had failed to find it the day before, and yet when it turns up, it wasn't like you had to turn over something. It was lying in plain view within arm's reach without any extended effort. And 100% was not there the day before.
I've seen that happen once or twice and didn't think about it till you mentioned it, where it's an obvious place that there's no way on earth you would not have seen it. No way. I had this with a pair of reading glasses a few weeks ago where it just disappeared, and I looked all around my little office area, and I couldn't find it. Fortunately, I had a spare. But, you and I, we get a little older. We have to have the reading glasses. So I looked around, and one day I'm staring at this inkjet printer, all-in-one printer, that I have in the corner of the room. And right in front of it, right there, are the reading glasses. And I stare at that place all the time because as I speak to you on the microphone, the printer is right ahead of me. I have no idea how it turned up. I asked my wife, "Did you find this?" No, I didn't. And there's nobody here, and the dog didn't find it and put it up there.
Yeah. Well, that's you could say it's an argument for why people have been believing in elves and fairies and little tricksters that go about our everyday lives and trick us in very mundane fashion. I'm reminded of David Paulides' books, The Missing 411, where people have been, searched for by dozens of search and rescue personnel for days. And then all of a sudden one day, there they are, right where people have crisscrossed the area, dozens of times. All of a sudden there's the missing person.
There is fire in the sky.
Okay.
The Travis Walton case.
Yeah. Yeah, good example. Well, some people would say not so good, but I think Travis had a real experience. Not sure what it was. I'm not even sure he's sure what it was. But I think that goes to John's point earlier that, we're dealing with something that appears to be stovepiped and appears to be each of these areas of phenomenal events appear to be standalone, but in my mind, there's got to be some sort of connecting mechanism or element that connects many of these apparently divergent phenomena. It connects them together. And, what my question would be is what's the point? What do we get? What lesson are we being taught?
Well, now that is the question. But one of the things I wrote to in both UFOs, Myths, Conspiracies, Realities, and the Reality Denied is something we call precognitive sentient phenomena. And this came about because of my observations at Skinwalker Ranch. And we had, if you look at the events that happened there, just absolutely beyond belief. And you try to instrument, this is where it gets terribly frustrating, trying to analyze some of the data. Had the ranch instrumented, cameras looking 24/7, time-lapse photography, all kinds of things. And an event would happen. So you say, let me try to study that. You set up to do that, and something else would happen. And it was like, when I say precognitive, that there was it's a trickster-like phenomena, but it knows how the researcher are going to respond before the observation is even presented to them. And then as you try to understand that, it morphs into something else. Say, you like that? Try this. And you see something totally different. And the point is, whatever it was totally in control. We were not. And I think that's true kind of across the board.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it just, to me, it's a tantalizing hint that we're dealing with something that has some sort of time manipulation capability. This all seems to be somehow explained by being able to, the whole precognitive aspect of it smacks of some sort of time manipulation.
If time exists.
Well, it does exist as a construct, and getting back to your idea of a consensual reality, we all agree that it exists, so to a certain degree it does. We're recording a 2-hour show here, 3-hour show, but 2 hours of talking. So
when you start dealing with extra-dimensional realities, one of the things that comes back is that time as we know it does not exist. It's just a convenience for measuring the transitory of events as they occur in what we call consensus reality.
Right. Well, when you get into the whole dimensional thing, people on the forums are going to, there's several individuals that scratch their heads and try to figure out what we mean by that when we say, well, we're obviously dealing with something from another dimension. It's hard for people to understand, I think, a dimensional aspect to many of these things that we're all so fascinated by. How would you describe?
We'd have figured it out already, huh?
You would think, but how would you describe the ability to, how is it possible? What is the actual physical process, do you think, or if you had to venture a guess, that would allow some sort of dimensional?
Yeah, you just modify it saying, what are the physical aspects? Because obviously some of this is non-physical.
Good point. It's almost like we're dealing with like cloud technology on some exalted level. The cloud has always been something that's fascinated me and scared me too, because I hate to think that there, all my data is up there just floating around somewhere for whoever has the access codes. It's almost like we're dealing with a cloud.
Wasn't that also called the Akashic Record?
Yeah, that's definitely that's been one term that's been used. I remember it especially from the 60s and 70s, the James Roberts books and the Doris Lessing. I think she wrote some very interesting books with that whole concept of oversouls and undersouls and that sort of thing.
Ekankar came along.
Yeah, Ekankar. Yeah. Ekankar supposedly was gathering in some isolated underground cavern that could only be, I think, accessed through the astral, and they were having meetings there and group meditations here.
We're going to have some other meditations and then get back for 2 more segments with John Alexander and Gene and Chris. You're in
the Paracast.
Thank you for listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
This is Dan Pilla. Do you owe the IRS money you can't pay? Are tax debts crippling you? I've defended people from the IRS for over 30 years. I've helped thousands, and I can help you too. I wrote the book on IRS settlement, and I'm telling you, there's no such thing as a hopeless case. Call 800-34-NO-TAX to finally get free of IRS debt. With the IRS's new programs, there's never been a better time to solve your problem. Call 800-34-NO-TAX. That's 800-34-NO-TAX, or my website, danpilla.com.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. I'm here to tell you about GCNtelecare.com, a team of board-certified doctors assisting you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Within 15 minutes of registration, care your family can afford. Revolutionizing the healthcare industry, virtual consulting providing diagnosis of non-emergency medical issues by phone or secure video on computer or smart mobile devices. GCNtelecare.com. Virtual care anywhere.
Warning. If you're drowning in debt you can't afford, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to pay it all back, because you don't. What the credit card companies don't want you to know is that there's actually a way to get debt-free without paying off your entire debt or going bankrupt. If you have $5,000 or more in credit card debt, you now have the right to let us settle that debt for a fraction of what you owe. For free information, call Credit Associates now. 1-800-959-5759. We'll even show you how much money you could save. If you can't afford to pay off all your debt, do not let the credit card companies trick you into thinking that you have to. Call Credit Associates now for free information on how to get debt-free faster than you ever thought possible without debt consolidation or bankruptcy. We depend on your success and offer a guarantee, so there's no risk. For free information, call now. 1-800-959-5759. That's 1-800-959-5759. 1-800-959-5759.
Heart disease is on the rise. Clogged arteries, high blood pressure, and high cholesterol levels may not be fully detected by you, but the symptoms are there. Loss of energy, blood sugar spikes and drops, poor circulation, and irregular heartbeat are just a few of these that can alert you that something is wrong. Hear how Heart and Body Extract is making a difference in thousands of people's lives across America.
My blood pressure has normalized. My diabetes has totally improved.
Everyone is telling me now how much healthier I look, and I'm telling everyone how much healthier I feel. I recommend Heart and Body Extract to everyone.
Anybody over 40 in the North American continent should be using this product as a preventative to keep their cardiovascular system healthy.
Order your 2-month supply today by calling 866-295-5305. That's 866-295-5305. Or order online, hbextract.com. Heart and Body Extract, 866-295-5305 or hbextract.com.
Hey folks, Tom D for ParanormalDate.com. Are you looking for love in all the wrong places? Now you have a chance to change that by signing up free at ParanormalDate.com. This incredible dating site puts people of like minds together. People who are interested in the strange, the unusual, ghosts, zombies, UFOs, crop circles, and more. ParanormalDate.com was developed for you, people who seek a little more than the other dating services offer. You can join for free by going to paranormaldate.com, and if you decide you like it and you want to connect with others, use the code GEORGE for a substantial discount. So many people want to share their experiences with the paranormal, the afterlife, the unusual, and this is the place to meet and share common interests with those of like minds. So sign up for free at paranormaldate.com. That's paranormaldate.com. Use the code word George and start meeting others. Get going now and connect with someone you like.
Hey, this is Marie D. Jones, the author of This Book is from the Future, and you are listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So, Chris, continue, please.
Eckankar, whatever happened to them, John?
I'm not sure. I haven't followed it. It just popped into mind as we were discussing it.
No, that was one of those weird groups that you never really knew exactly what they were about or what was going on with them, and then they kind of just faded away. Remember, I got that book.
The whole New Age kind of came, and many aspects faded away, and these things are recurrent, though. I mean, it's sort of cyclical as to when they come into vogue and out.
Yeah. Well, anytime you get kind of lonesome for the New Age, just come visit me in Sedona. You'll get more than your fair dose of the New Age here. I had to move because of it, pretty much. I can only take so much of that whole vibe before I start to develop itches in places that I can't find where to scratch.
Has 89A been fixed yet?
Yes, it's all done. They've expanded the road between the top of the canyon, Oak Creek Canyon, and Flagstaff, because of all the people getting killed from hitting elk, and they widened that whole 8-mile stretch and painted the sides of the road. They cut back all the trees and then painted it a light color so you can see the elk when they get within 20 feet of the road, 30 feet of the road. So it's all done finally, and the whole route coming in from 179, from Highway 17 rather, has been done for a number of years, but it's all done, but it hasn't helped at all. We still have terrible traffic here. It's just unbelievable for a small little place, you know. So, Gene, take it away. I mean, what
I'm taking things, and I have no idea where to put them, but I hope I will. I think when we talk about all this, trying to get a realistic picture of all sorts of weird phenomena going on, every time I focus on UFOs, it seems like they're all living in this tiny bubble, this tiny ET bubble.
Yeah.
And nothing seems to get in. And when you get stories like this with the Pentagon study and everything and the work that Bigelow supposedly did, all you see is no greater focus, because he believes UFOs are aliens. He said so pretty much on the 60 Minutes show when he was on there. So you've got one eccentric billionaire who believes in this stuff, and we follow what he does, unfortunately. But the other thing that was interesting to me, which is, I guess, been confirmed by some of the articles I read, is that when MUFON had its controversial encounter with Bigelow to fund some UFO research, that was apparently government money.
Well, we don't know that for sure, but the timing is...
never heard that.
Well, the timing is pretty spot on, John, of the project and Bigelow's involvement with MUFON.
Oh,
I think that's what James Carrion feels. He was the executive director or international director of MUFON at the time.
Was outside of that loop, to the best of my knowledge. That is not accurate.
You know, it's not like he would need to dip into that.
I have no special knowledge of that, I want to say, but I've talked to others, who were intimately involved, and there were, from their perspective, other administrative issues, and not so much on have never heard inference of that was government money. Man, we were in the noise level compared to what Bigelow had been supporting anyway.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that much for him to float that amount of cash. If you look at how much money he spent over a 12, 13-year period up in Utah, I mean, he was sending his jet up there to respond in the same, within hours of events going on there. That's expensive.
We had people up there a good bit of the time.
Well, in addition to all that.
Working there, but, I mean, our own folks were, and I was one of them who was on site periodically.
Right. Well, what were your, did you have any events up there that you personally experienced that you'd like to talk about? I know you did, but are there any that you'd like to discuss?
I actually didn't. I was the first one to spend the night. Actually, the day he actually bought the ranch, I stayed up there alone on the top of the mesa, and other than a lot of mosquitoes, the most exciting thing that happened to me.
So no large wolves, no cattle mutilators, no portals opening up in front of the ranch house.
However, one of the things I might, because I've been asked about this, my experience has been that strange things happen around me as opposed to me. And again, throughout Reality Denied, that's what the whole book is about, is, subtitles, firsthand experiences with things that can't happen, but
did.
And the things that happen, again, all over the world, and some of the military stuff we did happened rather than to me, around me. And I can't really explain that, but I've heard, similar talks from other people.
No. So nothing, no, sitting out in a lawn chair as bait. I think George Knapp mentioned that particular incidents where he felt like he was being kind of floated out there as some bait or something, and he still to this day is not sure how he felt about that.
I mean, the biggest event was that I've seen UFOs twice. One was up at a ranch in the state of Washington, and the other was the one with Chris Bledsoe. And that's one where, as we were describing the event and sitting there together, and he suddenly says, "I think they're here," and
right.
Behold, within a few seconds, the thing popped into view. Some say that was done for my benefit to see it, but
it sounds like one of those cases where they're monitoring individuals and kind of doing a tricksterish little routine to.
Yeah, no, the incidents with Chris, continue to this day. I've had emails from him recently. He continues to take continuously pictures of orbs, some of them in the visual spectrum, others that show up once you have it developed, or and look at it from a digital perspective.
Right.
But
speaking of orbs, what was the orb project?
Sorry?
You recall hearing anything about the orb project?
Not specifically. It sounds vaguely familiar, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, there was something that the Bigelow had, some study. I think some of his security guys, at least I know of, at least one security guard who was given instructions to constantly be taking pictures and be extra vigilant when, one shot would have no orbs in them and the next shot would be filled with them.
Is this at the ranch or?
Yes, at the ranch. Security personnel at the ranch. And one of these security guards did mention something about the orb project, and I'd never really heard any other references to that.
No, I have not heard of it in that perspective, no.
No.
You're going to have one more segment with Colonel John B. Alexander and Chris O'Brien and Gene Steinberg. We're talking a little bit now about orbs. All right, you're in
the Paracast.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
As you know, neighbors, web hosting can be pretty cheap, but not all hosting is the same. DreamHost wins Best of Awards year after year. You get unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, and even the low-cost plans put your sites on high-performance SSDs. Want to know more about what DreamHost has to offer? Go to technightowl.com/host. Once again, that's technightowl.com/host.
First came Attack of the Rockoids, and it was a critically acclaimed success. And now there is The Coming of the Protectors. A former military intelligence man is contacted by a space woman in a dream that turns out to be a nightmare because evil forces on her distant planet are planning to conquer the Earth. This is gripping science fiction of the classic kind. Attack of the Rockoids and The Coming of the Protectors. Find out more at rockoids.com. That's Rockoids, ROCKOIDS.com.
Fully cooked, ready-to-eat bacon. I'm talking thick, meaty, center-cut presidential bacon. Savory and delicious. I buy some, I use some, I store some. Awesome. No refrigeration needed with a 10-year shelf life. NASA-packed technology. Bacon. Fully cooked, fully hydrated, ready to eat right from the packed bacon. Or warm and served. Life-saving, ready-to-eat bacon. 10-year shelf life bacon. Ships free at fullycookedbacon.com. Fullycookedbacon.com.
Water is the single most important thing your body needs, so you want to be sure it's the best for you and your family. Since 2005, thousands have depended on Berkey purified water. The Berkey Guy provides the lowest priced filtration systems in every size. For incredibly delicious water now and in an emergency, get to GoBerkey.com or call 877-886-3653. 877-886-3653. GoBerkey.com.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you.
You can do it if you try.
Have you checked your ECS lately? We have. We are New Pharma, scientists who specialize in human functions controlled by the endocannabinoid system, or ECS. Let me simplify. Your ECS is involved in physiological processes like appetite, pain sensation, mood, memory, and immune systems. New Pharma's patent-pending science is the big difference in our natural solutions, formulated for your well-being. For example, our foundation product provides targeted nutrition to support a healthy endocannabinoid system, which is directly responsible for managing and controlling inflammation. This product contains turmeric, which is known as one of the best anti-inflammatories on the planet. Our Allergies product contains sage, which is a very effective decongestant. See all of our amazing capsules, essential oils, and ECS herbal teas at GNUPHARMA.com. New Pharma. Your path to wellness begins here.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Hi, it's Grant Cameron from PresidentialUFO.com. You're listening to the Paracast, the gold standard of paranormal radio.
So Chris is being possessed by an orb, is that it? I just thought orbs were just blemishes from the lens or flashes.
Particulate matter close to the camera.
When you're seeing them that's why I say the ones in the visual spectrum, I think, are important, as opposed to just things that show up when you're viewing the film. I had some that were taken, this was in the latter category, but Chris was out. We were up on Mount Charleston, about the 9,000 foot level, and I was taking a series of pictures, and some of them are perfectly clear, and others, there's stuff floating out there, and you go, where did that come from? The change was from, just a few seconds between taking the photos.
Yeah, I've had that happen too. I think a lot of it, though, is out of focus particulate matter close to the camera being illuminated by the flash. But I've also seen orbs with the naked eye and taken pictures of them, and I've seen squirrely little worms of light that are toiling around in the air and photographed them. So there are real orbs, and then there are digital artifact orbs.
There's no doubt that if you use a flash and there's dust in the air, that you can get anomalous illumination there. So, but again, there's others that pretty much defy description.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it does tend to be a precursor to the potential of other things happening. Just like in the San Luis Valley, we had what appear to be like giant bottle rockets that fizzle out. They're not meteors. They've been reported leaving behind smoke trails. I've seen one underneath a completely uniform overcast sky, actually arching over trees about 1,000 feet below me. So they are some sort of localized phenomenal manifestation, but they tend to happen, and then we get a wave of several days or even weeks of UFO activity, other anomalous type activity, and then there'll be another spate of these cheap fireworks, as I call them, and the wave will be over. It's almost like they announce the wave coming in, and they announce the end of the wave. Is the only real pattern that I could discern, and it was a fairly distinct pattern. And I think orbs may potentially have that. We may be able to use them as a way to alert ourselves that maybe other things are going on. This is just my intuition about it, but that's my kind of my hit on it.
Well, there's an interesting case that's very well known, but there's other aspects to it. I'm sure you know Dr. Lynn Katai and the famous Phoenix Light. But, she has taken photos from her house, which is a little bit above the Phoenix Basin there. Sure enough, has seen things down below across the area that show up on the film.
Yep. Yeah, we haven't had Lynn on the show in a while.
Well, it's interesting. I think I interviewed her once for after the Paracast, very briefly, maybe 30, 40 minutes. And then it goes back to the earliest days of the show.
So John, what is on your radar? What are you now involved with? Do you have any projects that you're working on? Anything? You taking a break? How's the book doing? It seems to be doing very well at Amazon. It's up there in one of the better sellers in the several categories that it's listed in. What's on your radar?
You probably checked it, and I haven't, so I'm not quite sure where that...
You're at about 40,000, which is really good. If you're in five figures, you're doing well.
The article, I'm doing another one in kind of the straight world and looking at the coincidence between football, climate change, gun control, and tobacco. And what I think the common factor is there.
Oh, I can't wait to see that.
Right here, the common factor is willful ignorance, the ability to ignore data.
Right.
That certainly applies in the UFO and other phenomena region, is that people just choose to ignore the obvious.
Yeah. On both sides of the belief system.
Yep.
So any trips planned? Are you going to be heading overseas anytime soon? Or
not sure. We're looking at going to Sri Lanka and I want to go out and dive with whale sharks. So I haven't done that one yet. So
Wow.
plan to do that shortly.
Wow, that would be fun. Where do you do that? Up in cold water, or is that warm water?
No, that's down. You can do it off Belize, Mexico, or in the Gulf. You also get them on the Pacific side, or they also show up in the Red Sea. But I think I'll use one of the ones that's closer.
Yeah. I wouldn't want to be heading over in that part of the world for any reason right now, myself. I'm just allergic to the War of the Gourd of Ashes, as the Hopi calls it. Well, it's been great having you back on the show. We really appreciate you doing a quick turnaround. I know we just had you on a month ago, but this whole story, I think, is important, and you are the perfect person in our minds to comment on it from a place of authority and cogence. I mean, it's always great having you on the show. Where do you think all this is going to go? I mean, do you think that Tom DeLonge's group and the august team that he has assembled is going to be able to make any headway? Let's say they do get some funding. Are we going to be seeing something good coming out of this?
Yeah. Somebody's going to have to step up with serious funding. Other than that, this is going to be another incident that will, in 5 years, you'll talk about. You say, remember the time when.
Oh, like a footnote, huh?
I don't think it's going to last 5 years, John. I think
when you look back from the 5-year perspective.
Yeah.
I think we'll look back from a 1-year perspective and see, oh yeah, that was a flash in the pan.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far or sell it that short. I think there is a little bit of sticking power. This has been a bit of a paradigm shift. Reluctantly, I think some people will agree to that, and I think it's going to have a little bit more staying power from a 5-year perspective, maybe not, but from a 1 or 2 year perspective, I think it's still sensational enough for people to hold on to it as the next great hope for disclosure and for the benevolent space brothers to finally come and solve all our problems for us. People are going to be holding on to that.
Actually, I think we shouldn't call them benevolent space brothers. They have to be real cretins to watch all the suffering and do nothing about it.
Yeah, E.T. did not answer the phone.
Right.
Absolutely. John Alexander, please tell our listeners where they can find more of the things you do.
Well, the easiest is on my website, and the easiest thing to do there is just Google my name, John B. Alexander. B is the middle initial, and I'll pop up pretty early. If you put in UFO or anything like that, it'll pop up, and that's the best way. I'm also on Facebook, and I've decided that the universe has gone to die, at least intellectually.
Oh, I think you're being optimistic. I think it's already dead.
You can find us on Facebook. We have 2 official Paracast fan clubs. We are on Twitter. And now that you have, 288 characters instead of 144, we hope all those characters will show up and send us a message. Chris O'Brien's site is OurStrangePlanet.com. We invite you to check it out, OurStrangePlanet.com. We also invite you to check out our other radio show. It's called After the Paracast. It's unpredictable. We never know from week to week what we'll do. In fact, we may even have stuff that we forgot we did, like having Dr. Lynn Ketai come on there and talk about the Phoenix Lights one week. Another week, Nick Pope, the fellow who was at the Ministry of Defense in the UK, got a hold of UFO matters, and it turns out he is a fan of conspiracy theories. It's After the Paracast, part of the Paracast Plus package, which includes a version of this show with better quality audio, free of the network ads, available for a low subscription rate. Go to plus.theparacast.com. That's plus.theparacast.com. Prices start at just $1.49 a week. Our price, cheap. Colonel Alexander, thanks for joining us on the Paracast.
Been fun.
The Paracast, featuring Gene Steinberg and Christopher O'Brien, is a copyrighted presentation of Making the Impossible Incorporated. Tune in next week for a new adventure in the Paracast.